I think maybe some of you have already seen this article in Adventist Today. Promising Swiss football star chooses Sabbath over success. So this is a football star, as we would call it in the United States, soccer. But this caught my eye earlier this week, simply because it's always wonderful to hear someone who I guess you would consider a celebrity or someone with fame decide to make their stand for the Sabbath specifically, because that's not an easy thing. For many of you who have been converted to Adventism and you've had to give up your job or your career or change business hours because of the Sabbath, you know how this feels. And that's, 2x probably or 3x for someone who's in the public spotlight and all eyes are on them. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article and just so you can see what's going on. So I think that Sylvan Wallner was an up-and-coming Swiss football star until he announced his retirement last weekend out of observance of the Sabbath. At 22 at 22 years old, Wallner had already caught the eye of many prestigious football clubs, signing a 2-year deal with the Australian, I cannot pronounce that name, but Australian Football Club for 200,000 euros. Wow. So down here it says, as a young athlete breaking into the top of his profession, many of his fans were surprised by his choice to leave it all behind to devote himself to Seventh-day Adventism. It is unknown how long he's been an Adventist. However, he has stated that he has not found any local churches, elaborating that as his career progressed, Wallner began to feel uncomfortable with the Saturday matches, leading him to retire altogether. So here's a statement.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's amazing, man. That's amazing. So listen to the statement he made. He says, "I'm a devout Christian and read the Bible." Simple, right? He's a Christian, he reads the Bible. I make the decisions for my life myself. I want to follow Jesus Christ, and the biblical day of rest has become important to me. As a professional, this means that I do not want to play football commercially on Saturdays anymore. This is my personal conviction that I have come to in recent days. So, what is your reaction to that, gentlemen?
Hmm. That's incredible, man. I like the fact that he's standing up for his faith and at a loss, at a big financial loss for him. I mean, like,
Hmm.
way, like some of these guys, they can live it up, and then you're
Yeah.
deciding, I'm not choosing the world, I'm choosing Christ. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I appreciate the nature of this. Of his. I mean, first of all, his conviction is obviously strong. I
Yeah.
love a man who stands for something that he believes in. I think that's very
Yes.
powerful.
Yes.
And
At
I
such a
think,
young age.
yeah, this could also come as a rebuke to many of us because we have some of our own people that are compromising on the Sabbath issue. Some
Hmm.
will work on the Sabbath and make excuses for it. Some will just, and we don't even have this level of sacrifice that we are making. We're talking about thousands of dollars is being lost here because of this
Right.
conviction.
Right.
And not only that, but there's the ridicule that comes after that. There is the lost opportunities that comes after that. You know,
Yes.
so so this right here is one of the greatest evidence that not only the Sabbath truth is exactly what it is.
Hmm.
This is an evidence of faith for all of us to behold. This is what it's going to take in these last days to stand for the Lord. And wow,
Yeah.
that's very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Just this last paragraph is interesting. It says feedback from his retirement announcement has been mixed, but the majority has been confused as to how someone with such unmatched talent could waste it due to religion. Now, no, notice this next part. Commentators on social media posts surrounding the announcement have said that not using a talent that God has given would be a waste, therefore insulting God.
Mm.
Interesting. A few have even gone so far as to say no religion should get in the way of such a promising career. Despite the mockery and dissent, Wallner has remained steadfast in his decision and has been very clear that he's uncomfortable playing for the profit on the Sabbath and is unwavering in his choice to live by faith. So you have people who and I'm sure these individuals would and consider themselves to be Christian or at
Of
least
course.
I guess religious individuals, and to say like I have to say this. I have some friends who 2 months ago they were running a business and they were recently baptized into the Adventist church. And they were running a business, and they got to the point where they realized, listen, we can't keep running this business on Sabbath. So they got their team together, they got all their clientele together, and they said, listen, we're no longer going to be operating on Saturdays. And they gave the reasons why. And I'm telling you, the backlash they received was insane.
Mhm.
The accusations that flew, they accused them of not caring for them, not caring for their kids because they work with kids. They accused them of being evil. I mean, they ran their name through the town because of their decision. They try to challenge him and say, "Well, you can't be of God. You're not Christian because you're putting your convictions over ours, and then now you're accusing us of doing something wrong because we worshiped on Sunday." Like they just uh, outright attack them. And I just felt so bad for them when they came and told it. You can just see that how they didn't expect that backlash would happen. And this is in a community that's predominantly Christian, by the way.
Mhm.
And they received that backlash. So this is real. I witnessed it recently firsthand what people have to go through to give up to observe God's seventh day rest. And so I can only see it getting worse. But kudos to this young man for standing firm in his faith, his convictions. Pastor James, if possible, I would love to see an interview. If you could reach out to this brother and see if you can get him on the channel, that'd be awesome just to hear his personal testimony about this.
Absolutely. Is there a contact info provided anywhere about him?
Mm,
I
I
would. Okay, maybe Adventist Today might have a way of
yeah,
reaching him.
yeah, I'll help you look into that as well. I don't see any in this article, but I'll see if we can
Okay,
find out.
what is his name? Full
Uh,
name is a
right here.
Swift.
Right here
Okay,
at the
so he
top.
might have a Facebook page. So
Hmm.
so okay, all right. We look out for that. If you can make it anywhere, you can find connection with him as well. I would love. We'll
Definitely.
bring him to the channel and allow him to share his testimony.
Absolutely.
This is powerful, man. This is powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, my faith is encouraged by this.
Yeah.
And again, I tell people, my thing is, if we can't stand for God in a time of peace, what are we gonna do in a time of trouble? Because when you read Jeremiah, for example, what does Jeremiah says in Jeremiah chapter 5? I think it's more than chapter 5, where he says, "If you have run with the footmen and they have wearied you."
Hmm.
It's so interesting how things are going. As soon as you stand up for truth, you get that backlash, and there's like
Yeah.
this force brought against you.
Yeah.
I'm reminded
Hmm.
of that passage, the great in Ellen White's writings, where she says, "Force is the hallmark of all false religion."
Mm.
Mercy.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes, sir.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole idea of forced worship is not something an Adventist we can support, because it's like anything that comes with force is not of God, because God doesn't operate under
Right.
force, So there it is. Jeremiah 12 verse 5.
You want to share?
Is it on the screen? It should be.
Let me stop
Yeah,
sharing.
it's on the screen. I can see it. Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
He says, "If you have run with the footmen and they have wearied you, how canst thou contend with the horses? And if the land of peace wherein thou trusted they wearied you, how wilt thou do in the swelling of the Jordan?"
Mm.
I have a sermon called "The Swelling of the Jordan" on my channel, and I broke it down in three different angles, not only from a trial perspective, but from a prophetic perspective, as well as persecution and everything. So it's like, if you want to go deep into what this is so huge, it's so massive.
Right.
But the point of the matter is, we got the footman race, we got the horseman race, and we got the swelling of the Jordan. So it's like three different types of races that happens in a life. And each one of them, it gets tougher as you move to the next in a ladder. So the footman is really basic. It's like ways of life, the common thing. And the horseman is kind of like a little time of trouble, So, and then there is the great time of trouble as well. So it's like all of it is laid out in the text. So it could be a much more discussion. But the point is, if we can't be truthful to God now, keep his 7-day Sabbath now, when there's no persecution, there's no guillotine, there is no fire underneath us, what are you going to do when they say you cannot buy or sell? And I think when you think about it from that perspective, I'm like, if you can't obey God now, what are we going to
Yeah.
do? if people can stand for truth now, what are you gonna do then? Yeah, that's kind of my position on that, and I'm really encouraged by the faith of this young man, that he's standing firm on his conviction. I hope he continue to stay strong. I'm gonna put him on my
Amen.
prayer list as well, because sometimes you can have people who have these strong convictions, and then later on
Oh, drop me.
they drop those convictions, and you find
Mhm.
themselves doing all kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I hope this is not the case for this young man. I hope he remains
Yes.
strong with
Amen.
the Lord and continue to serve Him with all of his heart.
Mhm.
Agreed.